I just want when people tune in to watch to feel like we're sitting in a coffee shop and you and I are chatting and they get to eavesdrop on our conversation. Hey everyone, Eric Stein here. It's the last Thursday of the month, so you know what that means. It means it's time for PCPA's Talkback series. I've got my interviewing shirt on and I've got my raspberry lime spindrift, so I'm ready. Folks, it's a big day for me. Today is the final regularly scheduled Talkback. PCPA's back in full swing. So we're going to go ahead and let go of the Talkback series. So we might bring it back occasionally for a special occasion, but we're letting go of the Talkback series so we can focus on all the work that we're doing at PCPA right now. And I can't tell you how excited I am to have our final Talkback guest be our newest resident artist, Eduardo Enrikez. Let me tell you a little bit about Eduardo. And what's crazy is I'm so excited to spend the next 30 minutes talking with Eduardo because honestly, Eduardo and I don't know each other that well. In this industry, often what I talk about in my business to being an actor, the business of acting class that I teach, is how important it is to build relationships in this industry. Our careers are really grow through the relationships we build. And we at PCPA knew that we needed a new resident artist. So I reached out to a lot of my relationships, and one of my mentors, Jeremy Mann, suggested that I reach out to a man named Jose Luis Valenzuela. Jose then reached out to Eduardo, and that's how the two of us first met. I had never seen any of Eduardo's work. At least I didn't know I had seen it. I actually had. I don't know if you know this, Eduardo. I saw you in Destiny of Desire up at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, which is one of my all-time favorite shows. I just love that show so much, and you were amazing in it. I just didn't know you at the time. Right. So Eduardo contacts me and said, "Hey, I hear you're looking for a new resident artist," and we start a conversation. We then get to see a lot of his work. We go through a lot of interviews. And over the course of about 2 months, we really get to know Eduardo, get to know his work. And I just think it's so cool how relationships get built in this industry and how relationships lead to more and more work. Eduardo, how are you? You're down in San Diego right now. You just opened the new Gloria Estefan musical. Tell us a little bit about what's going on down in San Diego and how life is going for you right now.
It's going great. So like you said, yeah, first of all, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to have this chat with you, Eric. So thank you for allowing me to be part of this Talkback series with you. So yeah, I'm in San Diego, and we just opened the musical On Your Feet, the story of Emilio and Gloria Estefan. We opened it on Wednesday. It's been a huge hit. I play Emilio. And I did this show a couple years ago in London's West End. I understudied Emilio over there. So just fortunate to fill his roles, make it mine now, instead of understudying someone else's role. So it's been great. Our Gloria is awesome. The cast is amazing. The production is great. It's an amphitheater, which I've never done before. So a lot of firsts this year as well.
I love it. Eduardo, so Jose sends you an email and says this company, PCPA, is looking for a new resident actor to spend the year with them, performing on the main stage and teaching in their conservatory. What's the first thing that goes through your head? I mean, did you know much about PCPA when you got that email?
To be honest, I didn't. Like you, I had to do my research of what's PCPA, what's it about, what does it represent, who are you, where are you, all that. And it's fascinating because I've always thought of teaching in the future, giving back to the new generation. So the fact that you guys incorporate professional theater with a conservatory is just, I'm like, oh my God, it's kind of like two birds with one stone. And also with the pandemic still upon us, and being out of work maybe for 16 months. I mean, when I say out of work, not being able to perform on stage, we're always working on other things. But not being able to perform and be in a room where it happens with fellow artists, I thought maybe this is just a good opportunity to buckle down for a year in a bubble where we can create things and hopefully the rest of the industry and science get their act together, and we can see how we can navigate through these turbulent times. So I thought it was just an amazing opportunity. So Jose Luis sends me an email saying if I'm interested. I do my research. I realize that you're looking for a Latino because of some of the shows that you're wanting to do that are very Latino specific, Mexican American to be exact. And I'm like, wow, this is great that we can tell these stories on the main stage, and it's about time, right? So I'm always honored to fly that flag.
We're so excited. I mean, you are joining the company at the same time as Kristen Celaya is joining the company. We've got two bilingual actors in the company, and actually, I should say, Eduardo, you're a trilingual actor. You obviously are fluent in English. You're also fluent in Spanish and in French,
and gibberish.
And a little bit of gibberish. Yeah, I love it. The were you born in Mexico?
So yeah, I was born in Mexico City. When I was one, my family moved to Connecticut for 9 years. My father was working in New York, started a business there. Then we moved back to Mexico. Then I was sent to study to Switzerland for a couple of years. Then I was going to do all of high school in Connecticut again, but I convinced my mom to bring me back to Mexico. So I finished high school in Mexico. Did my undergrad in England. I studied film and TV, and did my master's in musical theater in London, and I just started working.
Ah, man, that is just thrilling. What was it like to travel that much as a kid? I mean, by the time you're 12 years old, you've lived in 3 different countries. And I mean, were you able to build relationships as a kid that you were able to maintain as you moved around that much? What was that like?
You know, when I grew up thinking I was American, right? Growing up in Connecticut, knowing I'm Mexican, you know, and we spent the summers in Mexico and the holidays. So my Spanish wasn't the best when I moved back to Mexico, but I mean, thank God for social media that I was able to find my friends in Connecticut when I was younger, my friends in Switzerland as well, in Europe. So social media, I mean, for certain things just works wonder to make the world smaller. And what was it like to, I mean, that's one of those things I struggle to know where I really come from. In my heart, I'm 100% Mexican, in my blood as well, yet I've only lived 8 years of my life there. And I find that I can't do the work that I want to do in Mexico, not because there's not many opportunities. It's a different industry. And if you're not in the telenovela world, in the TV world, you know, and that's not a road I want to take. So I've always preferred acting in America and in Europe. For some reason. And it's not that I don't want to go back to Mexico to do something at some point. Of course I do. It just has to be the right project.
Yeah.
You know? But I find myself always wanting not to live in Mexico, but always go back to Mexico, if that makes sense.
It does. I mean, I think when we first spoke, when I reached out to you and said, hey, we're really interested in moving forward and going through the interview process, I think you were in Mexico City when we were talking.
Yeah.
During a lot of this whole process. How did theater come into your life? Were you exposed to theater first in Connecticut, first in Mexico? Where were you first exposed to theater?
You know, growing up in Connecticut, we were 40 minutes from New York City, so we'd go see the Rockettes, we'd go see shows there. I really wanted to be a professional soccer player, and I thought that's what I was going to do till I was 16, but I just didn't have the discipline. Girls came into my life, and partying came into my life in Mexico. So that discipline, plus I got injured. So then when I was going to do high school back in Connecticut, I didn't want to go. I actually wanted to stay in Mexico. And we stopped in New York, saw Les Mis and The Phantom, and my mind was blown. Here were these two male figures that were able to emote and show empathy and be strong and vulnerable at the same time. And coming from a Mexican family and a Mexican machismo culture, we're not allowed to show our feelings, you know? That's kind of like you grow up with. I have four brothers and a sister, so it's male-oriented family. So the fact that I'm seeing these larger than life men doing good in the world or falling in love or fighting for justice, it just spoke to my heart in a certain way. And I'm like, that's what I want to do. So I bought the albums and I realized that I could kind of imitate their voices. So then first year in Connecticut in high school, I auditioned for the Mikado, got into the ensemble, and it was the happiest I've ever been. I'm like, this is great. This is fun. So that was kind of like my intro to theater. And then from that moment on, I just didn't look back. But it took me a while to start professionally because for my family, I needed to get a degree in something else in film and to be able to then do what my heart really wanted to do.
Um, can you remember the first time you ever heard anyone speak Spanish on stage?
Gosh, no, absolutely not.
When was the first time you were asked to speak Spanish on stage?
Wow, that's wow. First time I was doing the musical Eating Raoul in London, and I think he had a couple of Spanish lines. He played the Mexican Latin janitor.
Mm-hmm.
I think he had a couple of lines, but that's it. No, unless I was in Mexico watching theater, or in Argentina watching a play, or in Spain watching something. Maybe I don't want to say it's in the Heights potentially, but yeah, not too many, you know.
Well, the thing that I'm excited about is that you're going to be able to give our community a different experience because the young people on the Central Coast, they do get to come to PCPA and hear Spanish on our stage. Can you talk a little bit about some of your early mentors?
Yeah, I mean, mentors are everything, especially in any walk of life, people that lift you up, build you up, trust you, respect you, hold you when you need to be held, and push you when you need to be pushed. I had some of the best teachers in London, Mary Hammond, Karen Rabinovitz, in Los Angeles, Carol D'Andrea, who was in the original West Side Story, in the movie and the production,
Wow.
and just mentors throughout my life as an artist, and become friends in life, dear friends that I value greatly. So you never forget the people that were there from the very beginning or at different stages to still help you find the truth and the passion, and not only to be the best artist, but to be the best human you can be. That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. That is, you mentioned some of your mentors overseas. Did you find, now that you've studied overseas and you're back here working in this country, did you find, is there, how different, I guess, how different is it to train in London versus training in California?
There's a big difference. California is built around Hollywood, not that there's not a theater scene or great theater actors. There's some of the best actors in the world live in California. Don't get me wrong. The main difference is in California, mostly in LA, I'm going to talk about, is they teach you how to be a film or TV actor, which is very specific to how to act for the camera. In England, they just teach you how to be an actor from the ground up. It's not about the technique of it's all in your eyes. It's about character. It's an understanding yourself first. How do you bring yourself to the role? How do you break down a role instead of hit this mark, look this way, so it's different. And that's why a lot of the British, European actors, in whatever they do, they're just kick-ass artists because they come from a good foundation. You know, they're not edited. You know, they're very raw. They'll let the camera do come to them instead of work the camera. You know, and if they have to, they will. They can adapt really quickly because it's not about technique. I mean, it's not about tech. It's just about living in that part. So it's not that difficult once you understand that. And in LA, it's most about results. Find this beat to do that. Find this beat to that. And I'm like, you're missing the point. Yes, we can teach all that, but who are you? Who the hell are you? What are you bringing to this part? From where are you bringing all this, you know? And if you don't understand that, it doesn't matter how good you can memorize things. You can fake it till you make it. They can edit you in films and TV. That's fine. And you might look brilliant. But in the long run, there's a reason why a lot of film stars don't do theater.
Man, folks, I mean, isn't that who you want to teach the future of the American theater?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Eduardo, I mean, that's really thrilling to hear you say, because you've had such great success on stage and also on camera. And the fact that you still are, you know, obviously film and television pays very, very, very well. And there's something very exciting about the film and television industry. There's something extremely artistic about it. It's an amazing medium as well. And yet you still keep coming back to the stage. You keep coming back to theater, even though the money's not as good, the hours are hard and challenging. I'm just so thrilled that you're able to bring this type of experience to the Conservatory, the experience of the Los Angeles experience, but also the London experience, the New York experience, the Europe experience in general. You're right now doing On Your Feet in San Diego, but you also worked on it in the West End in London.
Yeah.
What's it? How does it? What are the differences?
You know, the West End and Broadway are amazing. You know, it's you aspire to that because that's like you've reached a goal, a dream, right? Unfortunately, it's not what you think it is. It's a great big production. It's a big blockbuster, but mostly you're told to hit a number, hit a part, you know, and just it's a machine. You know, it runs like a machine, a well-oiled machine. They have a lot of money. There's some good people involved. Don't get me wrong. There's excellent artistry that's going on. But as an actor that likes to get in dirty and dig in, sometimes there's not enough time for that because they're on a tighter schedule because it costs so much money. So James Vasquez, the director of On Your Feet here in San Diego, called me and he said, just tell me what was your experience of the West End. And I said, you know, it was great, but they already had done this show. It was already created off Broadway, then on Broadway. So they knew how it worked. And we just had to be put into what was already something that already worked, you know? And granted, I wasn't part of the original concept that they did it here in the United States. So whoever figured that journey out, they were part of let's get raw and dirty. We just got, this is where you have to go because the lights do this, the sets does this. It was all planned out, numbers game. Just stand there, say your lines, you're good, you're cast for a reason. Great. And he's like, we're not going to do that. We're going to get down and dirty. And I'm like, great. That's what I like to work with. I want to understand every moment, every beat, and every emotion. Why are people, why are they walking here? Don't just walk there for the light. There's a reason. Yeah, we want the light to be there, but then make it a reason to walk there, right? So again, it was a very short rehearsal period, but he was a director that just likes to break down scenes and allows us to play. And that's where that's where the good work happens. You know, for me, if you've done the work, being on stage is easy. That's simple. You know, if you've done the work, the glory of it all is when you're stuck in rehearsal and you're finding things there and you're finding new moments and living new moments. I mean, that's just everything, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you know, and just getting that new audience every single night too. You know,
Uh,
once we've always been in such awe of the audience, but having 16 months having that audience taken away, uh, it's just so great to be reminded how valuable the audience is to our process.
yeah, it's a shared experience. For
Yeah.
sure, it's a shared experience. They give so much and we feel it. We feel absolutely everything. And it's not just the applause, it's just their energy, when they're really quiet, because you know that something's happening on stage and you can hear a pin drop, you know, and you can feel when they're with you, going with you, and then there's a chemistry that's happened, and every night is different. And that's why we go back and back. That's the question everybody asks. How do you do the show, for 6 months, 7 months? I'm like, because it's different every night. I feel different every day. I'm bringing, I'll hit, but there's some things that are different, you know, that's it. I'm not a machine. I have to go with what I have.
So true. So you've performed obviously in London, obviously all over this country. I have to ask though. I mean, you've also performed in Paris and so many other places. Is there something different about the Parisian audiences versus the London audiences versus the American audiences?
Yeah, I've always, when people say what's the difference between the West End and Broadway, or the UK as a whole to the United States, is um, they have the theater culture ingrained in them from start to finish. When you're in LA and you're doing a smaller theater, 150, you have to get your friends to come, because if not, no one will go. Very random people will go, unless it's a big show that's at the Amundsen or at the Taper. But the UK audience, they have the theater built in with them. People are working in the city and then will go on a date to go watch a little show in a 50-seat venue, just because that's something to do, because that's what they grew up with. And that's amazing. And it's not just big West End shows. It could be small concerts, dance hall. They love going out. They have that culture, or they're used to that. In LA, like I've said, we have some of the best actors in California, but they're more focused on TV or film. And that's okay. But we don't have the let's go watch a play culture. When a tourist comes from Europe to LA, they're not like, what's in the theater today? Unless it's Hamilton, right? But they'll go, no, let's go to Universal Studios. Let's go to the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Let's do other things. It's not known for their theater. You go to New York and that's what people do. Even Chicago a little bit more, London as well, but it's instilled in them. They just have that culture a little bit different.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and I'm excited about you being with us for so many reasons, but your passion for furthering this art form, your passion for the future of the American theater, I think is something that really aligns with who we are at PCPA. And I know that you yourself, you're a writer. You are putting more material out into the canon of the American theater. And you're also a composer. Have you always been musical? How did music come into your life?
I always sang. Like, I see videos of me growing up with my family, and my family's just telling me to shut up the whole time because I'm singing in the car or something, right? And it's not, we don't come from an artist family. We come from a business family. So no, we were exposed to the arts, but it's not like my parents were singers, or no one was. Um, so I just had it in me, and I had those feelings and emotions that I'm like, sometimes I can't say the things that I want to say, but I can sing them for some reason. Hence I love musical theater, right? I can say the things that I can't say. I can sing them, and then I can kind of hide a little bit behind that. And that's what I thought growing up, because it's all in a song. I can tell how much I love a girl by singing instead of telling her I love you, right? Um, and then I always played the piano. I don't know how to play the piano. I can't do this, but I do this. I hit some rhythms, and then I can create harmonies with myself. I'm musical that way. So um, I've always written songs and I never knew what they were for. I was never going to be a solo artist. That doesn't interest me. Cabarets interest me, but not so much. But I always needed an outlet. Like in the pandemic, what do you do? Well, I need to sit down and write something, right? So I had a story I'd been working on, and I'm like, what represents me? Everybody always tells you, write what you know. So I'm Mexican, and I've spent most of my life in America. I love these two countries with a passion. Um, and they're both right and wrong in so many ways, from my point of view. So I thought I'd create a love story with a backdrop of the Mexican-American War in the 1800s, and we'll create a Romeo and Juliet kind of backstory. Two people from the different sides of the road, a landowner that's American and a Mexican militant that fall in love. They just happen to be on the opposite sides. And I wasn't for or against any country. I was just trying to be very truthful of what I think one country represents and what I think the other country represents, good and bad. And then I'm a fan of, like, Les Mis, Miss Saigon, all these bigger musicals. So I said, I want to create those kind of musicals, and I want to do it bilingual. And not only bilingual, I want to bring back our indigenous ancestry as well and have them sing and speak in their dialect or language, which we use Nahuatl. And I'm like, because these lands that we all live in, they're not ours. We're just passing right now. We don't own them. We've all, they're from this world, So we have these two countries that are fighting each other for greed, for power, for land, and then we have this indigenous character going, stop killing each other for what? Let's learn to live with each other. And then you have the star-crossed lovers that are obviously mixed up in that whole thing. And I didn't want to apologize for writing in Spanish, and I didn't want to apologize for writing in English, and I didn't want to apologize for writing in Nahuatl, because I think the audience is educated enough to understand conflict, and if we do it correctly, sometimes the visuals represent more than what we're saying. So yeah, it's called Ilcahuila, which in Nahuatl means to forgive. So it's called To Forgive the Musical, and we just did our first reading workshop a couple of weeks ago, and I'm so excited. It's like, I'm so excited, because it's great to have representation now. That everybody's fighting for more colored people on stage and more of our stories, or let's do these classics with colored people. Where are our stories? Let's try to find new ways and not just do Hollywood musicals all the time. And I'm not saying they're bad. I like them. But there has to be a place for us not to be stuck in just one thing and going, well, if we put Latinos and Asians and Black people here, then we've done our job. No, let's keep writing new stuff, and let's be uncomfortable. Let's be uncomfortable, because only then do we ask the right questions.
Well, and that's how the art form has advanced for millennia. Folks out there, the Eduardo joins us full time right at the beginning of October, but he did get to come and spend a week with us right at the end of August before he went down to San Diego to start working on Your Feet. And so he was with the new students and our returning students for a week. Eduardo, can you talk a little bit about what your first week at PCPA was like?
I mean, there's so much energy. These students have so much energy, and as they should, because they've been locked up as all of us were for like 15, 16 months. So they get to be seen, they get to be heard for the first time in a while. They get to be in a room with like-minded people, share like-minded experiences, even though we're all different, and just seeing how they're navigating their individuality in a group setting is amazing. And watching them perform in their smaller groups, the tasks that they had at hand. So much creativity, so much talent already. It's just about focusing it in, and I'm very excited to work with all these students. I'm really excited.
Well, they keep talking about you. They can't wait for you to get back. We all can't wait for you to get back here. Folks out there, this year you're going to get to see Eduardo play Archibald Craven in The Secret Garden. You're going to get to see him play Martine in Mother Road, Cinderella's Prince and the Wolf in the spring run of Into the Woods. He's going to be a part of Sound of Music, and then finish up this season as Pablo in Native Gardens. So we've got some really exciting plays, and we're absolutely thrilled that we have Eduardo at the helm of so many of them, just really putting the show on his shoulders. And we are unbelievably thrilled that you're going to be with us, Eduardo. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your extremely busy schedule right now. You can tell how excited we are to have you back, because even when you're in San Diego, we're making you tune in on Zoom and spend a little bit of time with us.
It's great. It's my day off, so I'm like, yes, let's do it.
Folks, as I said at the beginning, this is our last regularly scheduled Talkback. It's been such an honor to get to spend this time with all of you, especially during a time that we really weren't sure how to connect with people. I want to take a quick moment and thank many people, starting off with our sponsors. Suzanne and Ron Levy immediately jumped right up and just stepped up and said, hey, let us help make this happen. And their sponsorship has meant everything to us. And Ron and Suzanne have been such amazing supporters of PCPA for decades, and their whole family. We just appreciate them so very much. And I also want to take a moment and mention Amy Ombritz. Amy is the person who came up with the idea for the Talkback series and asked me to be a part of it, and she really launched this whole series. But the person who really deserves my praise, one of my favorite people on the planet, Jana Price. Jana took over the Talkback series last summer and really took us to a whole new level, and really reimagined what we could do with this series and how we could provide it more reliably to all of you. And incredibly grateful to Jana. And lastly, folks, thank you so much for tuning in every week. It means a ton to us. I'm going to miss doing this series, but honestly, I'm so happy that it's not necessary anymore. So grateful that we all finally get to be in the same room together again. We'll see you real soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.